Okay, I'm sick of looking at this thing. So it's up on the bench. When stuff gets put on this bench, it gets fixed. I know I said I was going to buff the car, but just at the moment, as we're in a low pressure system, there's a lot of rain around, and the shed's actually packed, full packed. So I've got to get rid of a few cars, then I can buff this. But you know, it's not like it has to be done today. But anyway, I'm working on that diff for now. So basically, the first thing I want to do is undo those two drain plugs and get all the oil out of it. I'm just going to do one side. And I've just got to get this broken down into 3 sections so it's not so heavy. This thing is very heavy. Anyway, that's the plan. I want to undo these. I've already cracked it off with a 17mm ring spanner. So I'll just wind this out. See what the oil's like in here. Or just basic gear oil, I'd say. It's fairly clean actually. Make sure it doesn't go everywhere. And it's a bit shitty. I'll just turn that off. While that's draining, I'll undo these couple of screws, get this off, get this axle out, get the brake set up off, undo this, get rid of all that crap, and then I'll bust all these nuts and get the last of the oil out of there. And then that should slide out. There's an axle goes in there. And we'll have a look at what it looks like. It's hard to come off, no problems. It's actually pretty good condition. I'll just give that a bit of a clean up, it'll be fine. Definitely replace these, need 4 of them. This is pretty good in here. We might even be able to reuse these shoes. Give them a clean up. But I'll just take a little film of this so I can see how to put it back together. All brake parts off, everything's in this tin. Looks like you got to put this tin on as you put that backing plate on. No, not this tin, the spring. The spring there. That spring there, you put that on as you put the backing plate on. You know, you got to bust this nut. Only one way to undo shit like that is one of these things. You can see how it just freely spins. Gonna have to lock it. Jam the screwdriver in there. That was actually pretty tight. I had to put that on high power to get that off. So anyway, it never lets me down, that thing. Well, this thing was starting to be annoying, but it's coming off. I'm just going to keep winding this thing. It is coming, so. I didn't think it was going to come off for a minute there. Bloody thing. I'm going to put this down. Just so I know where that little thing there goes, I'll just make a little film of it. Got all these bolts out. There's a weird looking bearing here, half hanging out. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I'm sure that's how it goes, but it's a bit odd to have it half of it hanging out. Anyway, it doesn't want to come apart, so I presume this has got to come off this cover and you've got to take the chain off. I'll just muck around with it. I want to get this side off. And I suppose I'll pull the other side apart, but anyway, we'll just see what happens. Way dirtier. Just let that drain overnight. It's really bad. But I can't see any bits of the inner wheel, the little pulley wheels that the chain runs on. I'm sure I could see some on the other side. So I'm probably going to have to remake those. I think you can buy them, but I can make them myself, so we'll see what they look like. The thing that's stopping this thing here from coming apart, I think, for starters, is this bush here. So I've got to try and get that out. So I'm rigging up something here. I'm going to try and get it off. I've got these bushes out. I took the one out of this side as well. So I should be able to reuse those. But didn't want to come apart, but it's sort of broken its seal now, so it's starting to come apart. Got it apart. And surprisingly, I don't know what the other side's like, but that there is like brand new. So's that. So they don't need replacing, which is a win. Anyway, I'll pull these off. They're just like new. This stuff here has to be stripped out. I'll film that in a sec. All this stuff's like it was brand new. Anyway, lucky I've got all these weird size sockets. That's a 29. I've got that in the vise so it doesn't spin. I'm just going to whip that off of the Milwaukee. And then I've got to try and pull that out because this is an endless chain. I've got to get that apart and then that can be all cleaned. I can pull that shaft out. Then I'll work on the other side. But this has got a weird little clip set up in here. I've got to try and figure out how to pull this part here off. After that, nut here is super tight. I haven't been able to get it undone just yet. I've got that bearing out of there in the shaft, which is something that can be difficult. I'll figure this thing out here later. There's a special clip or something holding that in. So what I'm going to do is just start stripping the other side. And I'll get it down to that same stage. I might have to heat that nut up because I've put a lot of force on that and I've just about snapped this shaft. No, I don't want to do that. Well, the only reason I really want to pull this apart is because I want to aqua blast this and clean the bearings, whatever. Like the bearings look good. Otherwise I wouldn't bother taking that off. Anyway, I got that off. Just under these nuts, that backing plate comes off. I said it before, this spring, if you ever pull one of these apart, that goes on before the backing plate. So if you put all this stuff on, you haven't put that spring on, you've got to take it all back off. So it just sits there, but you can't get it out. After a bit of persuading and whacking and banging, I've got this side out. Actually, that doesn't look too bad, that bloody one either. Huh. Anyway, we'll just give it a clean out, see what happens. We may get away with not replacing those. They look quite good, but we'll make sure. Yeah, that's never been apart this side. Anyway, it looks a lot better than I was thinking. Got that nut off that side, so just going to mark that. That's the right hand chain. That's it. That faces it. You can go two ways. You don't want to put it in the wrong way. That faces out. I've got to try and get that other nut. It was very hard, but I got this one off, so I should be able to get it off. Milwaukee just busted that nut straight off then. Just give it a bit more. Another go. Got it. Just about all stripped out. Here's the right hand drive shaft. We'll put new bearings on that, but in certain sections there's little O-rings. There's a little O-ring there that goes there. You've got to remember to put that in, otherwise the oil will leak. So I've got to get new O-rings for that. And like I just don't put that straight in the parts washer. I get the bulk of that grease and crap out and then put it in there. I don't want to contaminate my new parts washer liquid straight away. Anyway, I'll wrap this up and I've got to remember to get the new O-rings as well. That's it for today. I've got most of the hard stuff done, I'm hoping. There's still this weird clip thing in here that holds this together. I think I've got to undo those bolts and then this clip thing. So I'm presuming bolts have to be undone. So anyway, tomorrow that'll get done. I want to try and save as much of this gasket as I can, but I'm not going to use it. I just want to use it as a template. So there's 3 sets of bearings in this setup so far. There's a couple of seals and there's several O-rings. Like there's an O-ring on the adjuster shaft for starters. There was an O-ring on that outer bearing. I've just got to make sure I get all this stuff. On some reason there was one missing on this side. This is the side that had the clean oil. I think this has been pulled apart. There's supposed to be the other side had a little washer there, aluminium washer. So I've got to make sure that I get another one. Unless it's on the floor, I didn't see it. And I see a lot of people forget to put that in. So I've got the other one. But anyway, I'll be putting 2 back. Anyway, that's enough for today. Tomorrow I'll get this stuff off, drop the diff housing out, or the centre. All this stuff's got to get aqua blasted, everything cleaned, and then goes back together. New bearings, new seals. I think everything's straightforward. Anyway, that's enough for today. I'm going to press this bearing off this shaft. It should come off fairly easy. I've got these 2 tyre lever things in there. Should just, yep, it looks like it's coming. Yeah, no problem. It'll drop in a sec unless I pull it. There, got it. There's that. The other side, the bearings stayed in the casing and it just came out like that, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm just pushing it out. It should go. It's a bit tight. I might get something better than that. Okay, got that now. One chunk out of my thumb later. Anyway, that should just come straight out. The socket didn't quite fit in there, that was the problem. There you go. Well, that's all them casings all stripped out now. There's a little filter thing that goes in there. There was one missing on this side, but I've got the one for the other side. But you can just put foam or something in there if you want. Well, they're all stripped. Now I've got to strip this. There's a little O-ring there. You've got to put that back on, otherwise the oil will leak. And there's also an O-ring here. Everywhere there's an O-ring, I've got to replace. That's there for a reason. That stops oil going into the diff, that one, out of the chain casings here into the diff. There's also a little seal here, which is a reverse seal. It's a weird little seal. So I'm thinking of just leaving that there. Otherwise I've got to buy that. They're 40 euros each. I don't see why I should cough up 40 euros for that. Just take this off here. I've just drawn a little map so I know which bearings go where. They really only go one place anyway. But just for my own reference, that's where that little O-ring there goes. The thin O-ring. The other side off, no problems, but I was just looking at the left side one. It didn't have the little O-ring there. There's supposed to be an O-ring there. That's the same side that didn't have that aluminium washer that's supposed to be in there. It's also acts as a seal or a spacer or whatever. It's supposed to be in there. So if this side's been worked on, it had the clearer oil. The other side, the oil was just terrible. It was just like dirt. But yeah, they've put this together and they've made a couple of mistakes. They're the bearings I need so far. I'm not going to bother cleaning them. I'm just going to chuck them in this container. To get new ones, why should I bother cleaning them? But we'll just keep them in there for now. And I've got to pull this gasket off. I've got that one off there. But to make these gaskets, I've been looking at buying gasket material. I can buy it in like 1,000 millimeters by 250. That's 260. That's 10 mil short. So I've got to find somewhere where I can get some wider gasket material. I haven't been able to find it. Anyway, I'll be able to have to work something out, but I can't leave it short. It's got to be the right size. Anyway, now I've got to try and figure out how to get this apart. And then I've got to drop the diff center out, and there's bound to be some bearings in here somewhere. So we'll see what they're like. Try and film this. I've got this clip here off. Oh, there's a little ring lock thing there, and then it looks like these things pull out. And it's almost impossible for me to film it and do that, so I'll just film a bit of it as I go. I'm going to have to undo these. I'll see what happens. They're 12 mils. They're a weird little bolt, these. They're not a normal bolt. I'll show you why in a sec. It's hard to see it, but there's a little bit of nylon. There's a nylon plug there. So it's sort of like a nylon. Sorry, yeah. In there's a little nylon plug. So that stops the bolt from undoing. It's like a nylock bolt. You can barely see it, but anyway, there it is there. Like everything on a 60-year-old vehicle, it didn't want to come apart. But that is what holds it all together, that locking system. And I had to make a little tool to get that off with this slide hammer. I use that all the time. I don't know if I'm filming it or am I? Yeah, this thing here, I just had to make a little foot that got in behind it to pull this locking ring off. That clip holds the ring in place, and anyway, that's enough of that. This thing should come off now. I'm not sure if I pull this I'm hoping not to disturb that because I don't want to buy it. Right, I had to take that seal off. We'll see. If we have to buy it, we will, but I really don't want to. I don't see why I should. Anyway, this thing's coming off. Now, there's another O-ring or something there. Right, I'll just put this down and I'll pop it off. There's that thing. Right, that's what that looks like. More seals, there's more this, there's more that. I don't know how many seals are in this thing, but it seems like there's a lot. Now I've got to do the same to this side. Just everything, pop this side off as well. It's easier said than done. I might turn it around so it's in the light. The tool I made quick work of getting that off when you know how to get it off. But what I want to show you is that's it together. That's how it works. So this clip goes in there, that goes on first, then that. But you put it together like that. That goes over that, slots down, and you put the clip there, right? The one thing I've just found is this is bent. This thing is supposed to be flat. That's not flat. See how it doesn't sit right? This one sits flat, that one doesn't. So that's got to be straightened out. I'll probably heat that up and straighten it and let it cool down slow. I'll worry about that when I put it together, but that would have probably caused a bit of a, I don't know, it would have done something. It's supposed to be flat. This time I didn't undo these bolts, so it didn't have to be undone. So I don't know if I'll put them back in or what, but for now I'm not bothering. That should just come straight off. Someone's had a good go at this thing. That needs to be replaced, that whole bolt's stuffed. That's the drain. No, that's where you fill the oil up. That's the drain there. So, I don't know where I'm going to get a new one of them from, but we won't be using that. That's very ugly. I've got to drop this centre out, have a look inside there, clean all this up and put it back together. But I've got to figure out how to get this stuff off. This business here. I'm not sure what holds that on at this stage, but that's sort of the last thing I've got to get off. Anyway, I've undone all those nuts there. Come down there, I've got this off. I smashed a 15mm socket onto that and it came off. Like it didn't want to come off. You can see what someone's done to it, trying to get it off. That one, well, that's probably alright, that one, but we definitely need a new one for that. That's just, I don't know what it is. It's not going back on this. We'll get one from somewhere. But now I've got to just try and break this seal and drop the centre out. I got that stripped out. I've had to clean all this crap off here. That took me half an hour to get the old gasket off there. That's ready to be washed. I'm not sure how that mounts and all that. I'm not going to pull that off. It just needs to be washed. But this here is going to get aqua blasted, this housing, and I don't know if it has to come off, we'll bring it off, but at this stage I don't think it does. Now I've just got the last thing I've got to do is figure out how to get this off. I don't want to touch it because I've just cleaned my hands and I'm going to eat something in a sec, but that swivels, that thing, so somehow it's got to come off. That's the last piece. I've got to clean the gasket off that, get that off. It's the one over there. Then all this shit's got to get cleaned, and then it's ready to be. All these casings get aqua blasted. This gets aqua blasted. Everything's cleaned. New seals, new bearings, put back together. There's another seal here. I want to make sure I don't forget where that goes. So I'll actually just put that there for now. But there's one on the other side. I've got to make sure that goes back in there. Something here comes apart, so I've got to get this apart to get that off. But I've done enough for today. It took me more than an hour to get all the shit off here. The gaskets off all the surfaces. Now they're all clean. Well, that's all I can get done for today. I've got to figure out how this stuff here comes off. I'm not sure. It must have something to do with these bolts. I didn't undo them on this side. I've undone them on this side. I feel that comes out, so we'll see. I've got a bit of a manual or something up there, but I'm not sure if it's got this in it. I'll have to go and see. I think it might be just the engine, but anyway, figure it out somehow, but just at the moment that's not coming apart. So I'll leave it for today. All this stuff's all cleaned off. It's all glued on. Like, I was hoping to be able to save one of these gaskets, but nope. So I've got to make two big gaskets like that. I've got to make a gasket for there. And there's also two other sort of square gaskets that go inside the hubs. So I've got to make 5 gaskets. So far I've got to get 6 bearings. And I've got to count up the seals. There's more than 2. Anyway, that's it for today. I'll go up and have a look what's going on. It's getting late. I'm back on this thing. I've just been up to see the engine builder, get him to go ahead with doing the boring for the cylinders. But I'm just trying to figure out how to get this apart. I've got a feeling that just taps off, and that. So I'm just going to try and tap it off. See what happens, because that thing should just slide off. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Yep, I got that off. I'll give it a bit of a wash. Come up pretty clean. It looks like the seals are all good, which is good. These things, they are a seal, but they also hold that down. So they'll be going back on. There's nothing wrong with them. I'll just give them I'll give that one a paint. Looks like it's supposed to be black. That one's not, so that won't get painted. Anyway, all this stuff needs to get cleaned up. I'll do the same, get that one off there. I stamp a little L on the inside of that, so you know. So I know which one it is. Yeah, it's not picking up on the camera. There's an L there anyway. Anyway, clean that up. I'll get this apart, and that's it. All I've got to do is I'll scrape as much of this shit off here as I can, and then they'll be going in the parts washer. That'll be getting aqua blasted. These housings. Not sure if I'll do aqua blast this part. I don't want to get all shit in that. I think that'll be staying like that. Anyway, that's it. The last part's got to come off. I don't know why this has bolts up in there, but I showed you those nylock bolts. I put them back on. It's only if you really want to strip this other section off, and I'm not taking that off. It can stay there. I might just I'll cover it over or something when I aqua blast it. I don't want to get sand and crap in there, so that'll get all taped off with a plastic bag, and this will definitely be getting, yeah. It's like sandblasting it, but it leaves a better finish. Anyway, we'll get this off. Using that again. I use that every day. So all just put that on the floor and just lift that up with a slide hammer. That just both of them come off. And then that same thing, clean that up. I'll whack a little R there, even though the other one's got an L on it, so it doesn't matter. But they only go one way. You can't. You don't want to put it around the wrong way. It won't line up. Just found the other little aluminium washer that I need. That's good, because it's good to have them exactly the same. That's the original part, so that goes in the other tin for the right hand side. Is this one cleaned up? It's not fully cleaned up, but it's way cleaner than it was. These will need to be all properly cleaned. Do all that, clean all those. But another thing I found out wrong is the seal's hanging out. Now I'll see if I can get it back in, but they may be getting replaced. We'll see how easy they are to come by. I'll see if I can tap it in first. There's a diff all broken down. I've just scraped off a lot of the bulk of this stuff here. I'm going to just soak these two parts in the parts washer overnight. I'll do the same with this, scrape the bulk of this crap off, then put it in a parts washer. They're cleaned up. I'll probably replace these. It went in, that seal, but if I can get them, I'll put new ones there. I don't see why I can't. They're a bit of a weird size. 61.3 inner and 97 outer. They're 8mm wide. I'll see if I can get them. If not, they're going back in. But that's probably why that one had a little bit of grease around, because it was half hanging out. Don't know how that happened, but that's probably the one that had the bent thrust washer. Wouldn't be surprised. Anyway, that's enough for now. We've broken it down, and when you see this again, we'll be getting put back together. All this, I'll probably show you how the aqua blaster goes. I've had it sitting there waiting for a month or more, but I just haven't tried it, so let's hope it works. Anyway, thanks for that.